The moment I tore up my acceptance letter to Juilliard, I felt like I was ripping out a piece of my soul. I had dreamed of that stage since I was a girl, plunking notes out on a second-hand piano in my mama's kitchen, the window open to the laughter of neighborhood kids while I practiced alone. That letter came in the spring of 1953, a shining beacon in a little white envelope that smelled faintly of ink and hope. I held it with trembling fingers, my heart slamming so hard in my chest I could barely hear. But by nightfall, it sat in torn fragments in the trash, and I never spoke of it to anyone, not even your grandfather, because my sister Maggie had just gotten sick, and Mama was working 2 jobs trying to keep food in our mouths. There wasn't room for dreams in a house drowning in worry. I still remember the sound of Mama crying that night, quiet, like she didn't want to wake Maggie, but raw enough that it sliced straight through the walls. I sat on the edge of my bed, the acceptance letter clutched in my lap, my eyes drifting to the corner where I'd pushed my suitcase days earlier, already half-packed with my one good dress and the rabbit's foot Daddy gave me before he passed. My hands shook so badly that I thought I'd drop the letter before I could even read it out loud. But I didn't. I knew then. I looked at the cracked ceiling, paint peeling like old bark, and told myself that home needed me more than Carnegie Hall ever would. That's what you do when your blood is someone else's lifeline you give without asking if you'll run out. I folded the letter back up, kissed it once, and began to tear. That was the first time I realized that sacrifice doesn't arrive with a warning. It arrives like a heaviness in your chest that won't let you breathe right. I kept going to school, kept playing the piano at church on Sundays, but the hunger for something more lived behind my eyes. No one in that little town knew what I'd turned down. They only saw the good daughter, the dependable one who stayed when others might have left. They saw strength, but inside I felt like a ghost drifting through someone else's life. I'd smile at Mama as she passed me a plate at supper, listen to Maggie's raspy laughter echo down the hall after a good day, and I'd think, is this what love is supposed to feel like? Like gratitude and grief mixed up in the same bowl? Still, I wore it like a second skin, this quiet aching I never spoke aloud. It wasn't until years later, when Maggie lay in that hospital bed during her final days, that I let myself admit how much I had buried. She looked up at me with those same wide eyes she had when we were girls playing under the pecan tree, and she whispered, "You never blamed me, did you?" I wanted to lie and say I never did, not even once, but tears welled up too fast for me to hide them. I took her hand, so thin and trembling, and I said, I chose to stay. No one made me. And it was true, but Lord, the weight of that truth still presses on my chest even now. The kind of grief that lingers isn't loud. It's gentle in its persistence, like a low tide that never quite recedes. But in the silence that followed her last breath, I found a strange kind of peace, because I knew I had never let her walk alone. After Maggie passed, the house felt hollow, like her laughter had kept the walls from caving in. I would pass her bedroom, the door always slightly ajar, and I'd catch myself pausing, listening for her cough or the soft hum of her favorite hymns. But there was only the creak of old wood and the hum of silence pressing in from all sides. I found myself at the piano more often, my fingers fumbling through pieces I used to play flawlessly. I wasn't chasing music anymore. I was chasing memory. Each note was a whisper of what could have been, tangled up in the reality of what was. Sometimes I'd close my eyes and pretend I was playing for an audience that wasn't there, the golden lights of a grand hall warming my face. But when I opened them, all I saw was the small, faded living room with peeling wallpaper and dust dancing in the sunlight. And still, part of me smiled because this was the life I chose, every note of it, even the ones I never got to play on that stage. Your grandfather never knew about Juilliard until much later. I told him after our 3rd child was born, one quiet evening when the kids were asleep and the world felt still. He looked at me for a long time, his eyes carrying something I couldn't quite read, maybe sorrow, maybe pride. He didn't say much, just held my hand and whispered, "Thank you." That simple word did something to me. It didn't erase the ache, but it softened it. Life rolled forward, as it always does. diapers turned into school books, scraped knees into teenage hearts, and through it all I played lullabies on that same second-hand piano. My dreams became bedtime songs and Sunday morning harmonies, stitched into the fabric of the family I poured myself into. There were moments, in the quiet spaces between chores and chaos, that I still heard the call of that old life. But then I'd see your faces, hear the laughter I helped grow, and know in the deepest part of me I hadn't lost anything. I had simply given it a different kind of voice. But let me tell you something I've held close for so long it nearly faded from view, a memory buried like a seed deep in a winter field. One summer night, maybe 10 years after I'd torn up that letter, I was walking back from the store, arms full of canned peaches and flour, when I passed the community hall. The windows were open and soft piano music floated out into the warm air. I stopped cold, listening. It was Chopin, played clumsily but with heart, and something inside me broke loose and rose like a ghost. I stood there under the street lamp, groceries digging into my arms, and I cried, quiet, hidden tears that streaked down my face as I realized how much of me still lived in those chords. I went home that night and wrote in my journal for the first time in years, just one line. A dream deferred is not a dream denied, it just sings a different song. And I suppose that's what I want you to remember. A life can still bloom, even if it takes root in unexpected soil. There were harder years too, the ones people don't put in photo albums, the ones where money didn't stretch far enough and your grandfather and I would lie awake in the dark, barely touching, both pretending we weren't crying. I remember one winter when the pipes froze and the heater gave out, and we all slept in the living room bundled in coats and blankets, our breath visible in the air. The children thought it was an adventure, a camping night, but I sat up long after they'd gone to sleep, watching the snow build on the outside of the window, wondering if I had made the right choices. But life is not just made of grand stages and applauding crowds. It's made of cracked hands, kneading bread for breakfast, of lullabies hummed over fevers, of sacrifices made in silence. And if I've learned anything, it's that love, real love, doesn't always come wrapped in dreams fulfilled. Sometimes it shows up in everything you gave away, quietly becoming the legacy you leave behind. I think about that legacy more often now, as the days stretch slower and the nights feel quieter. I sit by this same window where I once watched your mother chase lightning bugs barefoot across the lawn, and I wonder what stories you'll carry forward. Not just mine, but your own, stitched from the choices you make and the ones you let go. I never became the woman on the concert stage, never felt the rush of a standing ovation, but I have felt something deeper, the warmth of holding a new life in my arms, the ache of guiding that life through its storms, and the quiet pride of watching you all become who you were meant to be. If a dream lives on in the people we shape and love, then perhaps I never gave mine up at all. Maybe I just passed it down, note by note, into hands that will write songs I can only imagine. Sometimes I wonder what my life might have looked like if I'd boarded that train to New York, suitcase in one hand and sheet music in the other, eyes wide with dreams and no idea what it would cost me. Maybe I'd have played at Carnegie Hall, traveled the world, had my name in the programs and my music in records. Maybe. But when I picture that life, as bright as it may seem, it always feels a little colder, a little lonelier. Empty seats where your faces should be, quiet rooms without lullabies, stages washed in light, but missing the warmth of bedtime stories and dinnertime laughter. In chasing that dream, I might have found greatness, but I might have missed the small, sacred moments that made me whole. And so, if you ever wonder whether I regret choosing this life, hear me now. No spotlight could outshine the love I have known. I gave up one dream, yes, but in return, I got you. And I'd choose this again, every time. Now, the aches in my hands remind me that the keys I used to play so freely have slowed under time's gentle weight. I sit by the piano sometimes, just to rest my hands there, not to play, but to feel, to remember. Your children run past me now, their laughter trailing like ribbons in the wind, and I see pieces of myself in the way they move, hear echoes of old songs in their stories. And sometimes, when the sun is dipping low and everything is steeped in gold, I allow myself one silent moment to weep, not for what was lost, but for the quiet beauty of what was found. Because life isn't always the dream we imagined. Sometimes it's softer, quieter. Sometimes it unfolds not on stages, but in kitchens and bedrooms and long nights spent loving people who never even knew what you set aside for them. That, to me, is the greatest song I ever played. And I didn't need Juilliard to write it. But if I leave you with anything, if these old words of mine find a home in your heart, let it be this. Dreams don't disappear just because they change shape. They live in the laughter you share around a crowded table, in the courage it takes to show up for someone else, in the quiet courage of choosing love over ambition when the road splits. I didn't walk the path I thought I would, but I walked one that mattered. I shaped a world with my hands, my voice, my presence. I loved fiercely, I endured quietly, and through it all, I never stopped listening for music, even if I wasn't the one playing it. So go ahead, chase your dreams, run toward them. But never forget, some of the most beautiful songs are the ones we don't even realize we're composing, note by note, in the hearts of those we love. Those melodies last longer than any applause ever could. There was a moment, just one, that I think of more than most. I was in the kitchen, rolling out dough for biscuits, flour streaking my arms like ghostly handprints, and your mother, no older than 7, came in humming the very tune I'd dreamed of, playing on a grand stage Debussy's Clair de Lune. She'd picked it up by ear from listening to my practice, never knowing what it meant or where it came from. I stopped, hands midair, breath caught like thread in a needle's eye. She looked up at me, that crooked smile with one front tooth missing, and said, "Mama, that's your song, isn't it?" In that second, I saw it all the generations I had unknowingly gifted this unspoken music to. I didn't make it to the stage, but somehow, without even trying, I passed the melody on. And maybe that's the most powerful dream of all, the kind that doesn't end with you, but begins again in someone you love. Now that I'm in the winter of my years, tucked in this quiet house that once held so much life, I find myself speaking more to memories than people. And yet, those memories speak back in ways more vivid than any voice. I walk past that old piano, and I still half expect it to spring into song when the afternoon light hits the keys. I sit on the porch and hear the voices of children who've long since grown, calling out in the twilight as fireflies rise. I was never famous, never celebrated beyond the walls of this home, but I was seen, I was loved, I mattered. That is not a small thing. So when the final note of my life plays, let it be known that I played it with everything I had. Not for glory, but for love. Not for applause, but for belonging. My life may not have followed a symphony, it was more like a lullaby. But oh, how sweet that song has been. And maybe that's all any of us really want, not to be remembered for what we almost became, but for how fully we gave ourselves to the life we did live. My story isn't just mine anymore. It lives in the rhythm of bedtime stories you now read to your own children, in the warmth of the meals you cook with love, in the silent strength you carry during hard times. I see it every time you reach out to someone who needs you, without asking what it will cost. That's the legacy I hope to leave behind. Not just music in the air, but music in people and how they love, how they stay, how they choose kindness when it would be easier not to. So when you find yourself at a crossroads, wondering if the right path is the one you once dreamed or the one that needs you most, remember this. Sometimes the most extraordinary life is the one you build quietly, note by humble note, in the hearts of those who will carry it further than you ever imagined. That's the dream I gave up. That's also the dream I finally got. So if you're listening to this, my dear, take it as both a love letter and a compass. You'll hear plenty of voices telling you who to be, what to chase, what success should look like. But listen instead to the quiet voice within, the one that knows the shape of your heart. It won't always make sense. Sometimes it'll lead you down roads that feel like detours, that look nothing like the dreams you once drew in your notebooks. But don't be afraid of those turns. Don't resent them. Let them shape you. Let them reveal the beauty in the life you didn't plan. For every note I didn't play on a stage, I shared 100 around a dinner table, at a bedside, inside a hug. And that music lingers, it lives in you now. So go dance to your own song. Just promise me this: if one day life asks you to choose between glory and love, remember my story and choose love every time. Because in the end, my darling, we are all notes in a greater symphony, a song started long before us and carried on long after. I may not have worn gowns on grand stages or heard strangers applaud my name, but I have sat in the warmth of family, felt the weight of love in every wrinkle time left on my skin, and whispered lullabies to generations who will sing them long after I'm gone. That, to me, is the music of a life well lived. I didn't need a spotlight. I had candlelight dinners and stormy nights wrapped up with little arms around my neck. I had mornings filled with baby giggles and the rustle of tiny feet across cold floors. Those were my standing ovations. And if the final breath I take hums quietly like a closing chord, let it carry this truth: I gave up a dream to raise a harmony that will echo in hearts forever. And I would do it again, without hesitation, because love, real love, is the greatest song of all. I know time is closing its fingers around me, gentle but firm, like the last note of a song that doesn't want to end. And as my voice begins to thin and the mornings come slower, I want you to know there's no bitterness here. Only reflection, only gratitude. Life asked me to make a choice once, to trade my dream for devotion, and I said yes with trembling hands but a steady heart. And now, as I watch my story settle into the quiet corners of this home, I know it was never a sacrifice, it was a composition. Every choice, every pain, every joy and surrender, they were notes, woven into a melody that grew deeper with each passing year. So when you tell my story, don't say I gave something up. Say I gave something forward. Say my dream didn't end, it echoed. And that echo lives in you, every time you choose love over fear, presence over prestige, and heart over applause. That's the dream that mattered. That's the legacy I leave, and it sings still. So carry me with you, not as a shadow of what might have been, but as a light for what can still become. When you sit quietly with yourself, unsure of which path to choose, I hope my voice dances in the back of your mind, soft and steady, reminding you that love is not the enemy of greatness. It's the soil from which lasting greatness is grown. Let your ambitions be bold, yes, but let them be grounded in compassion, in grace, in the kind of strength that comes not from being seen by the world, but from truly seeing the people around you. I was never famous, but I loved fully. I was never heard by millions, but I listened deeply. And if that is all I am remembered for, then I have lived a life worthy of remembrance. Go on now, love, write your own song. I'll be listening, wherever I am, humming along from my quiet corner of forever. And when you do write that song of yours, let it be honest. Let it carry the cracks and pauses, the missed beats, and the moments of pure, unfiltered harmony. Don't try to make it perfect, make it real, because life isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's those quiet Tuesdays filled with laundry and laughter, the late-night talks when you feel like the world might just fall apart, the mornings when you rise despite the ache in your spirit. My song was never written in neat bars and polished crescendo. It was made up of sighs and whispered prayers and the soft patter of feet looking for comfort in the night. That is the music that lingers. That's the kind of beauty time can't erase. And so, my dearest, when the world rushes you, when you feel the pull of what you haven't done, take a breath. Remember my hands, old and weathered but full of love. Remember the strength it took to choose a different dream. And remember you come from a long line of women who made music with their hearts. Now go and make yours, and let it sing true. So when the morning light comes, as it has for all these years, I rise slowly, with grateful bones and a heart full of echoes. I place the kettle on the stove the same way I once did for your grandfather, fold the same worn dish towel over the handle, and wait for the whistle to sing. That whistle, simple and shrill, sounds like the start of another verse in my life song. Maybe no one else hears it that way. But to me it says, you are still here. You are still loving. You are still composing your own kind of masterpiece. And if this is the final page, then let it be quiet, tender, and full of grace. Let it be the closing chord of a lullaby that began long ago in a girl's dream and ended in a grandmother's arms, full of love. That's all I ever really wanted, to love and be remembered by the music of a life well chosen. So here I am, with silver in my hair and stories etched into every line of my face, thinking not of applause I never received, but of the quiet audience I did my family. You see, I didn't just live a life, I tended to it, watered it like the garden out back, pulling weeds and praying for sun. There were seasons of doubt, of drought too, but still it bloomed. And now, as I sit in this chair worn soft by time and memory, I don't feel sorrow for dreams rerouted. I feel full. I feel whole. My name may not be in lights, but it is spoken with love at kitchen tables, in bedtime prayers, and in the memories that flutter behind your eyes when you think of home. That is my stage. That is my audience. And if that's the closing note of my song, then let it gently fade into your hands so that you might carry it forward, singing louder, loving deeper, and never forgetting that even the quietest dream can echo forever when played with a heart wide open. And so, as evening comes once more, and the shadows grow longer on the porch where I sit, I find myself humming the same old tune softly, without thinking, the way one breathes. It is not the melody of the concert halls or the brilliance of a spotlight, but it is mine. It is made of laughter echoing through old hallways, of tears spilled in quiet kitchens, and of arms that held more love than regret. If you ever wonder who you are, look to the seeds planted by those who loved before you, those who gave up dreams, not to lose them, but to place them gently in the soil of your future. I may not be here one day to tell you these things, to pull you close and remind you of the strength that flows in your veins, but let this be the final note. You come from love. You were raised by a dream repurposed into legacy, and that legacy still sings. Let it carry you. Let it become your own. So let this be the benediction of my life, spoken softly through memory and offered now in full. I did not walk a path of fame, but I walked one paved in grace. I did not play to crowds, but I played for souls, my children's, my husband's, my own. My music was not broadcast to the world, but it was heard in every corner of this home, carried in every lullaby, every whispered comfort, every hard-earned peace. And if the final curtain is drawing now, let it fall gently, wrapped not in sorrow, but in quiet joy. For I have lived in the key of love. I have learned that the deepest purpose is not found in applause, but in presence. If you remember nothing else from this old woman's tale, remember this. Your life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. It only has to be true. Make it sing in your own way. I promise I'll be listening from the still and sacred silence of forever. And if this really is goodbye, if these words are the last ones I leave for you, then hear them as a final embrace, a soft hand on your shoulder when the path ahead feels unkind. I may not be able to walk with you through all your storms, but my love will always be a part of your foundation, steady and unseen. Take your leap, play your song, let your life be messy and radiant and completely yours. And when the noise of the world grows too loud, when you begin to doubt your enoughness, lean into the silence where my voice still lingers. I gave up a dream that once lit my heart like a fire, only to discover it could burn even brighter as a hearth that warmed generations. So light your own fire, my dear. It doesn't have to roar loudly. It only has to glow true. That will be enough. It always was. I suppose this is where the music fades and only stillness remains. But in that stillness, I hope you hear the resonance of a life lived with tender intention, a song composed not for fame or fortune, but for love too deep to ever be weighed. As I take my final bow in this quiet moment, I leave behind more than memories. I leave behind a feeling, a rhythm, a warmth that I hope carries through each of your days. Let my life be the background melody when you rock your babies to sleep, when you sit with someone in their grief, when you choose kindness over ambition. Let it be the soft refrain reminding you that love was the point all along. If I have given you that, even just that, then every step I took away from my own dream was a step towards something far more eternal. And that, my darling, is the truest harmony of all. So walk forward now, with your head held high and your heart open. Let the world hear your voice, however soft it may be, and trust that even the quietest songs can change a life. I may not be beside you in the years to come, but these words, this story, is a thread between us, a quilt sewn from memory, from devotion, from invisible acts of sacrifice that shape the edges of your world. You are not the end of my dream, but its continuation, its echo, its crescendo, rising into something even more beautiful than I could have imagined. Take this love with you, wrap it around your shoulders when the wind feels cold, and know this truth down to your bones. Dreams do not die when we give them away. They grow roots. They take new shape. And through you I live on, singing still, in the soft and everlasting music of love. So as I sit here now, the light dimming through these familiar windows and the world turning quietly toward another night, I send this song, this story into your hands with all that I am. It may not have bells or fireworks, no crescendo to awaken the world, but it has truth, it has heart, and in the hush that follows the telling, know this: I never stopped dreaming. I just learned how to dream differently. With every meal I cooked, every knee I bandaged, every night I stayed up praying long after everyone else had gone to bed, I was composing something sacred. A life, a legacy, a lullaby that stretches across generations. If you remember me, let it be in the small moments, the ones wrapped in light and love, and whenever the world goes quiet enough for you to hear it, I hope my song finds you once more. Soft, steadfast, and still singing, always singing. So this is where I leave you right here, in these final lines that carry everything I ever was and hope to be. If my voice fades tomorrow, let this be the echo. I lived for love, and that love lives on in you. I never filled concert halls, but I filled hearts. I never chased stardom, but I chased meaning. My symphony wasn't written in fame, but in moments, the ones that whispered, not shouted, their importance. So, let my last note be a quiet blessing, carried on the breath of all the lullabies I ever sang. May your life ring true. May you give with your whole heart. May your dreams, however they shift, lead you somewhere beautiful. And know, above all, that I am proud not of what you achieve, but of how fully you love. My dream became you, and oh, what a glorious song you've already begun to write. Keep singing, my love. Always keep singing. Even now, as the stars tiptoe across the velvet sky outside my window, I sit quietly in my old rocking chair, my hands folded in my lap, and I feel the music still within me, soft but strong. It hums in the rhythm of the wind on the porch, in the echoes of laughter long past, and in the quiet beat of my own heart, steady and content. The world keeps moving, faster than it once did, and I know my part in the story may be drawing to a close. But oh, what a part it has been. I didn't scale heights that others wrote songs about, but I was the harmony beneath the melody, the steady note carrying a family through generations. Let them say what they will about dreams lost, only you will know mine was never truly lost at all. It just grew wings and flew through you. So carry it on and keep singing, my sweet one. Let the song never end. And if this is truly the end of my song, then let it slow into silence like a soft fading light, not in sorrow, but in peace. I look back on the notes I played, the verses I lived, and I see a life fuller than I ever hoped for. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. I didn't need the applause of strangers. I had the open arms of my children. I didn't need a spotlight. I had warm coffee on cold mornings and laughter echoing through my kitchen. So let the world remember me, not for what I dreamt in my youth, but for how fiercely I loved in my time. When your life begins to write its own music out of love and purpose and courage, know that somewhere, some quiet place between the stars and memory, I am listening, I am smiling, and I am singing right along with you, as I always have, always will. So now, with this final breath of memory, I offer you my last gift, these words carved from a lifetime of love, sacrifice, and the kind of beauty that doesn't fade when the lights go out. I may be nearing the end of my path, but my song continues in you, just as surely as every lullaby carries a chord from the singer before. Let it be known that I did not leave unfinished, I only turned the page, and in the silence that follows, there is no sadness, only the soft closing of a chapter written in the ink of devotion. So, live boldly, love gently, and remember that sometimes the truest dreams are the ones we hand down like heirlooms worn, weathered, but never broken. Let my story be a hush in your heart, a melody that stirs when you need it most. Farewell, my darling, keep your song alive. Let it rise, let it echo, let it shine. Always let it shine. So now I close this book with hands that once held dreams and now hold wisdom. The piano rests quietly in the corner, a monument not to what was lost, but to what was transformed. If you ever find yourself doubting whether your path matters, whether love is enough to build a life on, let my story be your answer. You don't need big stages to matter. You need heart. You need presence. I poured mine into those I loved, and in return, I found a deeper joy than applause ever could bring. As the final light slips through these curtains and the hush of evening settles in, I smile. My life was not a song left unsung, it was a symphony lived in quiet devotion, and that, my dear, is all the harmony I ever truly needed. So carry on, with your heart wide open. My story is now your overture. Let it carry you forward with love, with courage, and always, always with music. So now, as night fully settles and the stars blink like old friends come to watch me rest, I offer you this final note with nothing left unsaid. My story, though it began with a dream I folded away, ended with a life I unfolded completely with open hands and an even more open heart. Do not mourn the paths we did not walk, for the ones we did were rich with meaning. I lived at the edge of music and motherhood, at the crossroads of sacrifice and small wonders, and I would walk it all again for the chance to see your face, to hold your hand, to know that my love wrote something lasting in the pages of your soul. So remember me not in silence, but in the moments you dare to love louder, kinder, truer. Hold fast to your dreams, but hold each other closer. That is the music I leave behind. And if you listen, really listen, you'll hear it still, stitched into the hush between heartbeats, singing gently from the place where all true love lives on. And so, with all that has been said and sung, I give my final bow here not to the sound of clapping hands, but to the hush that follows a well-told story. My song is quiet now, like the last golden ray slipping beyond the trees, but it is not gone. It lives in your footsteps, in your dreams, and in every kindness you choose in a world that needs it. I didn't scale every mountain, but I laid paths for others to walk. I didn't finish with grandeur, but with grace. And as I close my eyes tonight, letting the peace of a long life lived settle into my bones, I hold the hope that you, too, will choose love when the choice is hardest, and know that in doing so, you write music that matters. Though my voice falls silent, my melody lingers soft, steady, and forever yours. And now, my love, as I rest my head against this cushion worn by years of quiet thoughts and unspoken prayers, I close the story of my life not with regret, but with reverence. I have poured every part of myself into this family, strung each moment together like pearls on a thread, some radiant, some dulled by sorrow, but all cherished. If these are my last words, let them be a blessing whispered into the night, that love true, steadfast, unrelenting, outlasts even the sharpest of longings. I did not become who I once dreamed I'd be. I became something fuller, something softer. I became yours. And so, let my memory be like a familiar song, one that finds you in unexpected places, hums softly through your days, and reminds you that lives given in love never truly disappear. They just become part of the music that keeps the whole world turning. So sleep easy now, my darling. Let this be the echo that carries you into every new beginning. My hands may no longer bake the bread or play the hymns, but the warmth they've held still lingers in yours. My laughter may not fill the halls, but it's there in your joy, your hope, your faith in love when the world leaves you weary. What I gave was never truly given up, it was transformed. From a girl's dream of music into a grandmother's symphony of devotion. Close your eyes and listen, and you'll hear it. A soft, steady rhythm beneath the noise of the world, the heartbeat of every sacrifice made out of love. That's me. That's this story. And that's the melody I leave wrapped around your shoulders, like an old quilt threaded with memory. Walk forward with it, hum it when you need strength, pass it along if ever someone forgets that love. Quiet, unshakable love is where the most exquisite songs begin. So let this be my last gift to you, wrapped not in ribbon, but in the kind of wisdom earned only through 1,000 ordinary days. Choose to live with presence. Let your love be slow and intentional. Let your words leave warmth behind. Trust in the quiet power of staying, of tending, of choosing grace instead of grandeur. My life was not shaped by fame or fortune, but by moments stitched gently together with devotion biscuits in the morning sun, lullabies whispered into restless ears, forgiveness offered when it was hardest. If there is music in that, let it be a chorus that carries you through your hardest days. Sing your song, darling, with gentleness, with courage, and with the belief that where love leads, legacy blooms. When they speak of me, let it not be in what I gave up, but in all the beauty I gave forward. That was my dream made real, and now it's yours to carry. Let it sing. And so I end where I began, not in grandeur, but in grace. A girl with music in her bones who became a woman with love in her hands. I followed no map, climbed no marquee stage, but I carved out a life one heartbeat at a time, and I gave it, fully, to those I cherished. If in your quietest moments you ever feel lost, reach for this story. Let it remind you that the things we give away out of love have a way of returning in echoes, in songs sung by children, in kindness passed on like a favorite lullaby. My life may never appear in history books or shining lights, but it lives in you, and that is enough. So take this story, make it your own refrain, and walk boldly into your days. Love hard, stand steady, and whatever dream you carry, let it become something bigger than yourself. Let it become home. That's where mine lives still. And that's the truth of it, my sweet one, the story of a dream not lost, but lovingly given, reshaped by time and tenderness into something far more enduring. This quiet house, these worn hands, this full heart, they are the testament to a life not grand, but grounded. I didn't perform for crowds, but I held the gaze of a child who depended on me, wiped tears I never caused, and stayed when staying wasn't the easiest choice. That was my magic. That was my masterpiece. So, let this final note ring soft and strong in your spirit. Never doubt the worth of a gentle life given in love. My song was not wasted. It took root and blossomed in you. And though my melody now drifts beyond what ears can hear, it is still playing, forever threaded through the music of your life. Sing it forward. That's all I ask. Sing it forward. So now, love, as I take my final breath among the shadows and stars, know this truth. You were the song I never knew I was writing, a symphony not of acclaim, but of connection. Not measured in applause, but in dinners shared, wrong notes forgiven, and hands held through storms. My life may not have followed the music I once imagined, but it was music all the same, a deep, enduring rhythm that pulsed with love. Let your story begin where mine ends, not as a farewell, but as a bridge. Let the melody I loved into existence continue rising in you, in every word of comfort you give, in every brave choice you make, in every quiet moment when you choose to love fiercely. I go now, but my song remains, not just remembered, lived, and oh, how beautiful your version will be. Keep it close, keep it honest, and above all else, keep singing. And so, my darling, this is where I rest. No more pages to turn, no more refrains to hum, just the quiet peace of having told my truth. My story ends not with fanfare, but with fullness. I gave up a dream once, yes, but not in sorrow, in purpose. What I built in its place was a life teeming with quiet joy and relentless love. That life became my song. And now I pass that song to you, a melody etched not in notes on a page, but in meals shared, tears wiped, bedtime stories whispered with care. Let it guide you when the world feels loud, when your own dreams seem too costly to keep. Know that sacrifice can still sing, as long as love is the reason. I may be gone when you read this, but my voice lives on in the choices you make, in the love you give away freely. Let it all be music, and let it never end. Now the quiet wraps around me like a favorite shawl, worn soft by years of warmth and memory. I look out at the dusk, settling gentle across the yard, and I smile not because every dream came true, but because the one that mattered most did, to leave behind something lasting, something loving. My life was not wasted on what never came, it was fulfilled in all that did. So, as the stars glimmer softly and the wind hums low through the trees, I let go with peace in my bones and music still dancing in my chest. You are my final note, sweet and steady. Take it. Treasure it. Build your own melody from it, bold, beautiful, and unafraid. I am no longer the keeper of this song. You are. And wherever your journey leads, sing it with love, sing it with hope, and let it be the light that guides someone else home. Always let it be love.